Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all on board to the distance learning program of Pakistan International School. Let's continue with the same topic, that is the tenses. In your previous lesson, you learnt about the uses and structure of present indefinite tense and present continuous tense. In today's lesson, you will be learning about the uses and the structure of present perfect tense and present perfect continuous tense. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to know what are the uses and structure of present perfect tense and present perfect continuous tense. Be able to use these two tenses with increasing accuracy in writing and use correct form of the verb in parentheses using these two tenses, and you will also be able to convert sentences into negative and interrogative using the said tenses. So let's begin with present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is used to describe an action that began in the past and continues into the present or has just been completed. For example, I have completed my work. It means that I started completing my work in the past and has just been able to complete it. The second example, she has written a letter. It is also used to show past events whose time is not mentioned. For example, we have done our duty. So here is the structure of present perfect tense. Simple sentence, subject plus has have, then third form of verb, and then object. Please note that we use has when the subject is either he, she, it, or a single noun, whereas have is used if the subject is either I, we, you, they, or a plural subject. For example, this boy has learnt the lesson. Now this boy is a single subject, that is why we have used has, and learnt third form of the verb. In negative sentence, the structure is subject, then has have, then right after has have we use not, then third form of verb, and object in the end. The example, the milkman has not brought milk. The other example is here, they have not deceived anyone. Now interrogative sentence. In interrogative sentences, we bring helping verbs has and have in the beginning of the sentence, and then we use subject, third form of verb, and then object and question mark at the end. For example, has Aslam brought new shoes on Eid? Alright, dear students, I hope you have understood the uses and the structure of this tense quite fully. You will now be able to apply this tense with increasing accuracy in writing in the form of the 3 tasks coming to you now. So the first task for you is to change the verb in parenthesis using the tense which you have learned right now. Here is a list of sentences. Each sentence contains a verb written in brackets. You are supposed to change that verb in the tense which you have learned right now. So you need to be careful about the question marks given at the end of certain sentences, which requires you to change that sentence into interrogative sentence, whereas the ones having not in bracket with the verb require you to change those sentences into negative sentences. And here goes task 2, which is to convert the given sentences into negative. You have a list of 5 sentences given here which you are supposed to convert into negative, whereas task 3 requires you to convert the given sentences into interrogative using the same tense which you have learnt right now. Well, dear students, let's move on to the next tense, which is present perfect continuous tense. The present perfect continuous tense is used to emphasize the continuity of an action that began in the past and is still going on. For example, I have been working here for the last 10 years. It means that I began working here in the past and am still working here for the last 10 years. Another example, they have been discussing the problem since January. Now you see certain more examples here. He has been studying grammar for an hour. She has been cooking all day. It means that he is still studying grammar and she is still cooking. Here is the structure of present perfect continuous tense. Simple sentence, subject plus has, have plus been plus ing form of verb plus object, then since, for, and then time period in the end. For example, people have been coming to the park since morning. See, people is the subject, then we have a helping verb have, then been, then ing form of a verb coming to the park, and then since, and after that you have a time period morning. Negative sentence, subject plus has, have plus not plus been, then ing form of a verb, then object plus since, for, and then time period. Example is here, the players have not been playing football since 4 o'clock. Interrogative sentences. In interrogative sentences, we bring has, have in the beginning of the sentence, and they are followed by subject, then been, then ing form of a verb, and then object, then use of since and for, and then time period, and the sentence ends at question mark. For example, has the child been weeping for 2 hours? You see has in the beginning, the child is the subject, then been, then ing form of a verb, for, and then time period 2 hours, then question mark at the end of the sentence. Now the question arises where to use for and where to use since in a sentence in present perfect continuous tense. Remember, my dear students, we use since when the exact starting time of the action is mentioned. Like, for example, I have been living in Japan since 2012. This 2012 is the exact starting time of this action. That is why it will take since before it. Whereas we use for when the duration of time is mentioned, when we do not have the exact starting time of the action mentioned. Like, for example, I have been living in Japan for 4 years. So this 4 years is a duration. It does not tell us the exact starting time of my living in Japan. So we use for with minutes, for hours, for 5 days, for 6 months, for 3 years, for 2 centuries. Whereas since is used with since 8 o'clock, since Monday, since February, since 1982, since I left school, since the end of last century. Alright, dear students, and here goes task. Well, my dear students, with this we come to conclude our today's lesson. I hope you have understood both the tenses quite fully and will now be able to apply them with increasing accuracy in writing and in conversion of sentences into negative and interrogative. So thank you very much for your passive listening. Stay home, stay safe.